Dumfries è solo Lautaro, rete, ha segnato l'Inter!
This is the Pazza Inter podcast, where we talk passion, tactics, victories, heartbreak, and everything in between. Because with Inter, it's never just football. Vamos! Vamos! Well, ciao my people, and welcome back to the Pazza Inter podcast. I'm your host, DJ Nik, coming at you from Milan, the home of the boys in black and blue, and today, my fellow Inter fans, we have a lot to talk about. We just witnessed one of the most defining weeks of the season, not because of one match, but because of two completely different performances that told you everything about this team. One was controlled, and one was absolute madness. And somehow, both led to the same conclusion. We are on the brink of something special. So let's start at San Siro on Friday night, Inter versus Cagliari. Because after the chaos in Como, the question was simple. Could Inter calm things down? And for 45 minutes, the answer looked like no. Cagliari came in organised and disciplined, and for a while they made this very uncomfortable. Inter had possession but lacked sharpness. They felt slow, predictable, dare I say nervous. But then came the second half, and just like that, the switch was flipped. Marcus Thuram opens the scoring in the 52nd minute, tapping in from close range after a Di Marco delivery. 4 minutes later, Nicolò Barella, against his hometown club, picks up the ball, drives forward and smashes it into the top corner. Game over. And from that moment, this was control, complete control. Inter finished with 18 shots, 5 on target, over 55% possession, and allowed just 1 shot on target all night. And to put a nice little bow on it, our Polishman, Piotr Zielinski, stoppage time, long-range finish, 3-0, lights out, good night. This wasn't dramatic, this wasn't emotional, this was professional. And with that win, we moved 12 points clear at the top of the table. That's not a title race anymore, that's a countdown. So you go from that, calm, controlled and clinical, and then just a few days later, you walk back into San Siro for a Coppa Italia semi-final, and everything explodes again. Because if you thought Inter had learnt their lesson against Como, think again. Same story, different competition. Inter 0, Como 2. Again. Martin Baturina scores in the first half, Lucas D'Acunha makes it 2 just after the break, and suddenly you're sitting there thinking, there's no way they're doing this again. But this team doesn't panic. This team does not fold, this team responds. Minute 69, Akan Çalhanoğlu, outside the box, turns, shoots, deflection, goal. 2-1, shift in momentum. San Siro wakes up, the pressure builds. Minute 86, Çalhanoğlu again with a very rare goal with his head. 2-2, and you can feel it. Como are gone mentally, and then 3 minutes later, Petar Sucic, winner, 3-2. From 2-0 down to 3-2 up in the Coppa Italia semi-final. We advance, the final is secured, the dream is still alive. And here's where it all comes together. In the space of 4 days, Inter showed you two completely different identities. Against Cagliari, we had control and structure and patience and authority, while against Como, it was about chaos and resilience and mentality and especially heart. And both matter because champions don't just win one way. They win when it's easy, when it's hard, when they're playing well, and when they're hanging on for dear life. So here's the reality now. Inter are now 12 points clear at the top of the table, into the Coppa Italia final, and still riding momentum from multiple comeback wins. This is not luck. Let's get that clear. This isn't a good run. This is a team that knows exactly who it is. A team that can suffocate you or survive you. A team that can dominate or drag you into chaos and still beat you. And if you're the rest of Italy right now, that's terrifying. Because whether it's calm control or complete madness, we always find a way. And that's why the championship is coming, and maybe, just maybe, the double is too. So I would say that's what we've got when it came to the latest matches. Let's get to what's coming up next. Because, my dear Inter fans, now comes the part of the season where good teams relax. We'll be playing, of course, Torino. Because after controlling Cagliari, surviving Como again, reaching a Coppa Italia final, we now travel to face Torino at home in Turin. And on paper, this should be routine. But this is exactly the kind of game that tests whether you really deserve the title. So let's set it up properly. Inter come into this game top of the table with 78 points, best attack in the league, 78 goals scored, one of the best away records in Italy. Torino, they're sitting 12th, negative goal difference, mid-table, inconsistent, dangerous on their day, but they're not elite. And historically, this matchup leans heavily one way. Inter have won 17 of the last 28 meetings, won 6 of their last 10 away games in Turin. So yeah, the numbers are pretty clear. But here's the catch. This is not Cagliari. Torino are a different kind of problem. They're physical, they're organised, they're comfortable without the ball, and very capable at home. They've won 9 of their last 18 home games, so this is not going to be a walk in the park. And more importantly, they're the kind of team that tries to drag you into an ugly game. Low tempo, fouls, second balls, long phases without rhythm, exactly the opposite of what Inter want. So what does this game look like? Well, I'll tell you right now, this is going to be about patience versus frustration. Expect Inter dominating possession, Torino sitting compact in a mid-low block, very few clean chances early, and the key battleground, wide areas. Because if Inter break this game open, it will come from Denzel Dumfries attacking the far post, or Federico Di Marco delivering early crosses. Torino will try to win aerial duels, slow transitions, force us into crosses from deep, and if Inter get impatient, that's when Torino can hurt us. So let's talk some individuals, the key players probably for this match. For Inter, I would say Marcos Thuram, on fire right now, confidence is through the roof. Speaking of confidence, Akan Çalhanoğlu coming off a heroic cup performance, and Niccolò Barella, the tempo setter, the emotional leader. For Torino, keep your eyes on Nikola Vlasic, he's the creative outlet, and Giovanni Simeone, physical threat up top. These are the moments where games swing. Now the real question is not are we better, we know we are. The real question is can Inter win without chaos? Because the last 2 weeks have been 4-3 comeback, 3-2 comeback. At some point you don't want to keep playing with fire. I don't think this will be a blowout. I think this will be a tight game. I think it will be a physical game. I think it might be uncomfortable. But I also think champions find a way. And I think our final score will be Torino 1, Inter 2. Thuram, maybe Barella, and obviously a late scare because we always enjoy the tension, don't we? So my final take is if Inter win this, then we're no longer talking about if. We're talking about when. Because this is what title-winning teams do. They go away to places like Turin against teams that want to slow them down in games that aren't pretty, and they take 3 points anyway. So I would say this coming game on Sunday isn't about style, it's not about dominance, it's about one thing, getting closer to the title. And right now, we don't need to be perfect. We just need to be, like Thanos, inevitable. So, of course, I guess that's it for today's episode of the Pazza Inter podcast. Thank you for listening. Remember, with Inter, it's never easy, it's never calm, and above all, it's never boring. But we wouldn't have it any other way. Share the podcast with a fellow Inter fan or a fellow football fan for that matter, and I'll see you next time. I have been your Italian DJ Nik. Thank you for listening, and as always, Forza Inter. Vamos!